Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gavinsky's Tutorials. Today is a walkthrough about some of my favorite apps that run on the iPad. Most of them run on the phone. Some of them will also work as an AUV3 on Mac for making ambient music. A couple of years ago I made a video on making drone music. If you're interested in this video, you'd also be really interested in that one. Just search Gavinsky drone and you'll probably find it. So I'm going to take a quick look at absolutely loads of different apps here. I'll also comment as I go along on some things that I think in general are useful, things that you might want to look for in apps that you're using to make ambient. I've got a second iPad set up here that has an app called SQSL Strips loaded on it. That's a really useful app with a bunch of different sliders. I've got it set up to control various things in these effects apps that I've got loaded along here, most of which are not being heard at the moment. They're totally dry. So that app Strips is super useful, and I've got a video on my channel on it. I love how you can, you can just use it as a regular controller, but you can also record your movements and then just play those back, and you've got different sliders that will allow you to change the speed of each of the main sliders. It's super cool. This is another app that I find myself grabbing a lot if I think about ambient. This and Thermo as well, by the same developer. So Fundamental 2, whole bunch of different oscillators, beautiful sound, and we can modulate things. Right there in the app, you've got a lot of modulation options. But here, if you see these sliders moving, I'm actually using a different app to modulate these. So here I'm using this app Sculptor by Bram Bos and Hainbach. This is a filter bank, but it got an update a couple of months ago, allowing it to send out MIDI CC. So the movement of these sliders is controlling the movement of these sliders. And I'm also using that to control some of the sliders and knobs here in this ring modulator app called Ringatron that I really love. It's a great one, I think. Depends. There's so much flavor of what can be ambient, but I feel like a lot of people who like ambient could make use of that app. Now, let's go over here to this channel with all the effects on it. So the first thing I've got loaded here, and actually, let me bring down something, hang on. This is just a panning app, Auto Panner. So I've got it set to a really slow pan, and the depth's up full. This kind of thing can be nice to have around a 50-50 depth just to add a little bit of movement. Thing is though, there's already a fair bit of movement because in Fundamental I've got it set up that the different oscillators are panned in different ways anyway. And the volume of those oscillators is changing, so it sounds like there's auto panning going on even though there isn't. So I don't really need this for this particular session, but it's very useful for ambient. Now here, Circa 2. This came out, it was really a bit buggy, and I found myself getting a lot of clicking on loops. It seems like that's maybe been fixed or at least improved. I grabbed it when I was setting up this session, and I've had good luck with it so far. I'm not sure I'd 100% vouch for it. It really did have a lot of clicking before, and it was very annoying. So here I've set up sliders to control the level of these different loops. These are just loops I recorded before recording this session. Just recorded this input, and I've pitched those up and down. If we look at the positions, we can see these are moving around. Now, I was kind of lazy. Most of these I just copy and pasted. I think only the last one was a separately recorded loop. But you can see these are going in different speeds and in different directions in the case of this one and this one. So I think this kind of thing is really nice for ambient for sure. So in general, I mean, some kind of looper app that allows you to repitch things can be very useful, I think, for ambient. Now, I personally love this app, Juggler. It's my favorite app for sample rate reduction and bit depth reduction. Glorious. Bring that down, I'll leave a little bit of it in. Weeping Wall. So by Akil Adam. Now I could put this after that, which might be nice. But I think for now I'm going to bring this down so you can just hear things more clearly. Here I'm just controlling the wet volume. I'll bring down the dry volume. So here we basically just got a cloud of very short little loops because I've set the looper size to just 0.10. Well, to 1/10 of a second. And I've got a little bit of jitter, so there's a bit of variation in the loop sizes. And I've pitched this up 7 semitones. So great for putting in a bit of texture. I'm going to leave it at up 7. And I'll bring this down, actually, for now. Okay, here, Moog Foger Murph. Sequenced filtering. So the sequence is set by tapping here. Here we set a length, how many steps each pattern will run for each different filter band, and how and which steps it will be triggered on. And so we get this lovely pulsing sound. And I can change that radically by playing around with the rate, which has a free option, which to me is very important for ambient. If things are synced, bugger off, you know? And here, this envelope control. So we can get a lot of variety there. This also has very beautiful saturation with this drive knob. So it can be nice to just have, I mean, it can be nice at times to bring that in entirely, make it fully wet. Or maybe leave a little bit of the input, or, you know, whatever. Very versatile. just a little bit of texture or something much, much more sequenced sounding. Everything's possible. Now, unfiltered audio, silo. So, marketed as a granular reverb, I usually leave the reverb off and use it more for rhythmic stuff. I also really like the spatializer, doing, interesting panning of the grains. There's so much cool stuff this can do. I've set it up here that there's a little bit of randomization in the grain size and rate. So you can hear if I bring that randomization off, it's totally regular. So again, this kind of adding a little bit of randomization, super useful in the context of ambient. I also love how there are so many different grain windows you can choose, and then shape those with this shape knob. That can really make a difference to how things sound. So super fun to play with the size and rate knobs. Let me bring the dry wet down a bit, bring the wet down a bit. And let me try bringing in the Moog Foger together with that. Now, by the way, if you're into making music on an iPad and you're into ambient and experimental stuff, etc., I highly recommend subscribing to this channel because I think you'll really like it. Because that's the main stuff that I do here. Most of the stuff leans towards the ambient or experimental or drone side of things. So yeah, it can be really nice to combine those. They're both doing a little bit of a kind of gating effect, and when we bring them together and they've both got different rates, it can just bring in very subtle little variations. Really nice. Okay, let me bring them both down for now, so we're not using either. Now here, Lowfi as by Unfiltered Audio. Various lo-fi effects, got a kind of digital skipping effect and stuff going on here. Let me turn it up fully wet. It's going to be pretty radical with the skipping. You know, I don't have to have that, but I do like it. And again, very important, we can have that unsynced. I really like the interference feature. That's very full on, but if I bring the dry wet mix down a bit, oops, let's leave that sign. You know, if we gradually bring things in and out, it can be very interesting to add a bit of variety. And this can all be pitched here. I really like all of these unfiltered audio apps. Remember everybody, if you're buying apps for desktop, it can help me out if you use the plugin boutique link that I put in the pinned comment of pretty much all of my videos, especially the recent ones over the last year or two. I get a cut, doesn't cost you anything. It's a great way to support this channel. Unfortunately, Apple dropped their affiliate program back in 2017. So nobody making videos on iOS music apps or any other kind of iOS app is able to make any money from people using their links. So some kind of financial support from viewers is absolutely crucial. Got a great Patreon as well. You'll see loads of different links how you can support this channel in the pinned comment of my videos, including this one. Please do take a look. Don't think that other people are going to support. Most of them won't. It's up to you, you know? Support the people that you enjoy and that you'd miss if they disappeared. Thanks, guys. Okay. So I'm going to leave that in a little bit. And now let's go to Wavebox by audio thing. So here, doing some wave shaping distortion, I've set up the envelope follower here. That is modulating this bias slider, and you can see that movement here on the screen. So that can be very extreme. It's really nice to have the clicks from that Unfiltered Audio Lowfi app, because they're bringing a bit more dynamics into the signal, so it's more interesting for this to follow that. So again, you know, can just have a little bit. Okay, here. Unfiltered audio needlepoint. So here I've got a lot of large crackles. This is not sample based, this is all physically modeled. Beautiful inbuilt compressor as well, with a bunch of different algorithms. It's also got this nice repitching feature. That repitching is not affected by the dry-wet mix here. So if you wanted to use the pitch in that way, that you could keep the original pitch and have the repitched version, just use it on a bus channel or whatever. Okay. Just take down that wave shaping as well. So I've got Sculptor in here. I'm not actually going to use it, but this can also be really nice for just doing some live filtering. Don't need it here. I've already got enough stuff going on with these oscillators being moved around and these ring modulators doing different things. Just a reminder, this is definitely a useful app. I really love that it does the MIDI out as well. Other desert cities. Really great. You got a whole bunch of different delay algorithms you can choose from. Multi-tap delay, stereo delay, reverse delay, and so on. Granular, you know, all kinds of stuff. And very reasonably priced, at least on the iPad. I think it's available for iPhone too. So, I mean, I really quite like this up a very high, but also nice to just have a little subtle amount. Now bringing in a bit of Eventide Black Hole. It's a classic for a reason, really nice for big reverbs. For some reason I find myself very rarely using the different Eventide apps that I got, even though, you know, they're very good, but I use this one a lot. Let me bring it down. Now, there are a lot of good reverbs that you could use for ambient. This is definitely a really nice one. Rimdigari by Eric Sicht. It just does some really weird stuff. This is like supposed to sound like some kind of, you know, radio interference or something. It's kind of lo-fi effect. It's got repitching stuff. It's got built-in distortion. It's got really cool built-in modulation. It's beautiful looking. It's very inspirational. Lovely app. Fluss, another one by Bram Bos with Hainbach this time. So here I've mapped two of my sliders, one to the input amount and one to the output volume. So let me bring down the input amount a little bit and bring up the output a bit. So really nice granular app with a nice UI, you know, these same kind of sliders that you've got in Sculptor. So you can set sliders moving, you can easily limit their range. And of course, if you don't want to use the internal kind of, you know, flicking to move things feature that it has, you can use external LFOs and stuff, everything's exposed. So here, because these are moving, these are changing the grain density and grain size, and just keeping things sounding very alive. Now I've mixed back in some of the dry. I mean, can you think for a minute how blown the minds of the, let's say, the radiophonic workshop people or something would have been to have had all this stuff on a little iPad with a lovely touch screen. I mean, it's incredible. Here I just put a limiter to make sure I didn't have any volume spikes. Here, this is one of my most used apps, MIDI LFOs by Art Kearns. Here, I'm using it to modulate this volume slider. So what's super cool about MIDI LFOs is you can very easily set up cross modulation between the 4 different LFOs that it contains. So here, this green LFO is modulating the rate of this one. This is the main one that's modulating this slider. And here, this blue LFO is modulating the amplitude of this main red LFO. I've got a walkthrough on this on my Patreon. I think it was the first video I made on my Patreon, the first exclusive video. I've got lots of exclusive videos over there. It's a great LFO app. Beautiful looking too, I just really like it. Okay, I'll take that off. And now I'm going to take fundamental down, and I'm just going to make sure that I've taken all the other sliders down, and especially Circa, the looper. Okay, there we go. Nice bit of silence. All right. Salame, another app by Bram Bos. Hang on, whoops. What have I done there? No volume, okay. All right. So MPE sampler can also be used as an MPE MIDI controller, and I did a video on both of, I've done videos on both of those uses. So MPE is so great for ambient stuff because it's very expressive. And it's very easy to make small little subtle changes. It's really just perfect for ambient, basically. So definitely highly recommend this. Check out my videos on it if you're not familiar with it. Another one by Bram that I really like, Mononoke. Now, there are things that I don't like about Mononoke. There are plenty of things that I don't actually. I really dislike the keyboard. I'd far rather it had a keyboard more similar to Salame's. There were some decisions made in the way this app was done that aren't personally what I would have gone for. I know that Bram has his reasons for having made those decisions, but anyway, despite my misgivings about a few things, it's a really great app for drone and ambient. And haven't even put any effects on it or anything there. Great, great. Now, Spelldoza. Spelldoza by Clave Grand. I just love this kind of music box sound. Oh, hang on. Right, beautiful. Now, so I definitely recommend this if you like those kind of sounds. So here I've got Waymaker sequencing that. There are a lot of sequencers that you could use for ambient stuff. This is definitely one of my favorites. It's just very versatile. You have a lot of different sequencers that you can chain together in different ways. I did a very detailed video on it. One of the things that I really love about it is that you can adjust the rate. So you can have, free timing. And that is just so useful. Oh, what's going on here? Frozen? Huh, strange. Okay. Well, I'll have to report that bug to the developer, I guess. Let me see. Let me just change this. I might have to reload that entirely. It's frozen. And it's crashed. Okay, great. Wow. Yeah, I must say, that's one thing actually. It is a bit unstable. And unfortunately that, I love this developer's apps, but they do tend to be a bit unstable. I have had crashes with various of his apps. Anyway, it still is great. Maybe don't use it for live performance, but very useful sequencer. Now, here, I don't remember having crashes with this. Harmony Bloom by Mario Nieto. So this is just a super quirky MIDI sequencer. Can be really fun to play around with this speed offset. A pretty complicated app. So watch my walkthrough on it if you want to learn how to use it. Okay. But just a really good kind of sequencer for doing weird off-the-grid stuff. I'm putting this through MIDI gates probability. I use this app a lot when I'm working with MIDI. Very useful to just thin the stream of MIDI notes out. It's not a very interesting example of it, but yeah, it can be very useful. And there are lots of different ways that we can filter those notes. Great little app. Okay, now, this was also MPE, by the way, Terra Pro. So this is great for a load of different reasons. First of all, it comes with absolutely tons of presets, and a lot of them seem very suitable for ambient stuff if you're into that. But the really interesting thing is there are a few very good in-app purchases for it, like the Rings module or the Brains module, so stuff based on mutable instruments, Eurorack modules. And we can just do super interesting stuff with this. So it's a semi-modular synth. And it's definitely one that you're going to have to read the manual if you want to learn how to use it. So here we got a nice bit of physical modeling. What's really cool is that we have a resonator here in this particular example, and an LFO is being used to excite that. So here it's set up that this LFO1, which is a square waveform, so that's what's given this on and off effect, dun 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 dun, right? But here, if you see the way the rate is changing, like it's speeding up over time, that's what LFO3 is doing. So LFO3 is modulating the rate of LFO1, and LFO1 is being used as the exciter for the resonator in this physical modeling thing. So this is just great for ambient and experimental sound design because of the way you can use all these different LFOs to do different things, and just all kinds of different stuff going on here. Super cool. Now, Noise Space by Igor Vasiliev. Really interesting for soundscapes. His apps are generally pretty interesting for people into experimental music. I don't always like decisions about the UI, but I find his apps very interesting. And this one I did a really long video on, I think about an hour, a few months ago. So super cool app, great. We got a bunch of different generators that can generate different sounds. Then we have modulators for every generator that modulate a bunch of different things. Got some nice inbuilt reverb. It's got this feature called background sound that's a bit hard to explain, so I'd recommend just checking out my video if you want more on that. Nice randomizer as well, by the way. Now, this is also getting MIDI over there from Harmony Bloom. There's another one that I've really been enjoying for experimental stuff, Elastic Ask. It's again based on Rings, but it's just got a really cool interface for touch. Nice XY pads where we can also record our movements and stuff. Super neat. Don't want this video to be too long, so a couple of these things I'm just mentioning very briefly. Gauss, also kind of useful. There are things that disappoint me about this app. I won't bother going into them now, but I still do like it. I'd love it to get some changes, really. Yeah. I don't want to go on too long, so. Another one here, Mersenne by Ice Gear. Beautiful for bell sounds. Super cool. So I'll leave it there, folks. I hope you got a bunch of inspiration from this. And as I said earlier, do definitely check out my drone video if you're into experimental music. And I mean, there are going to be so many videos on this channel that you'll enjoy. Take it easy, and thank you for watching, guys, and thanks for supporting. Take care.